you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm giving you the update to the Yogi build. Now this was released originally in Somerset due to bows being two pieces and making sure we could take advantage of two monster pieces, which we couldn't do in the past, but now you can. And this of course is a major update in comparison to the previous, based on the fact that some of the sets have changed, some of the rotation has changed, there's quite a lot of different things added. But this is a ranged stamina DPS build with two bows. Now, I know this is a very different playstyle for most, and lots of people have wondered in the past, can you have two bows and can it work? Yes, it can, 100%. Now, first of all, I'm going to go over the stats, make sure we've got some food on, put our bonuses on and all that good stuff. We're on 11.4k max magicka, 20.6k max health, and 37k stamina almost, 36.7 in fact. 1.1k stam recovery. We are on 49% crit chance, and the weapon damage, it looks like 2.6, but it's actually around 3.1 once you've got all your glyphs procced and everything, which for a bow setup is actually very, very nice. You'll see where everything goes in together as you go through the video, so don't panic just yet. 11, almost 12k spell resistance, and 11k physical resistance, which will go up if you add a resist buff, of course. 64 points into max stamina, stage 4 vampire, and the love of Munderstone on purpose, because we don't have much in form of penetration in our sets. However, we used to use the thief in the past, but now we do not. You can if you want to, but once we get to the sets and everything, it will make a lot more sense. Now, first of all, we're going to go over the skills. This is very, very important. This will underline why everything is the way it is, how it works, and all that good stuff. So if you do skip it, you are at risk of asking questions or even stating stuff that has already been said. So it's at your own risk if you skip it, but if you're interested, I will go over everything in detail. First of all, we are using the Bullnetch. Now this is in the Animal Companion skill line. It's a 4th ability to unlock, so you will need a couple of these on your bar to start with to level it up. The Bullnetch gives you stamina back over 27 seconds. In fact, 5, 3, 4, 8 over time. It also increases your weapon and spell damage by 20%, so you get major brutality, which is awesome. So if you look here, you're on 2.2k weapon damage, activate it, and you're sitting on 2.7 almost. Now that is the same bonus as weapon power pots, but we are going to be using them because we do want the crit bonus, but I'll go over pots later. As long as you've got that active, you will always have major brutality up, and you will always gain that stamina recovery. 5, 3, 4, 8 over 27 seconds. The recovery is absolutely insane, and just for those that were concerned, yes, it does actually work with your block as well. So when you're blocking, your stamina doesn't go up, but look, my stamina is going up the whole time. Small amounts, but it's going up. About 200 a tick. It's really, really nice. So that helps for your recovery and gives you the buff. Also, it's free. Doesn't cost a thing. So you can spam this. There's no point in spamming it, but you can. The next ability is Race Against Time. Now, previously we had minor force in our set. However, one of our abilities got altered. So we no longer need that because we don't actually have to cast for minor berserk. So we can make use of our magic pool in another way. So instead of spamming this, I'm not going to go too much in detail just yet, but instead of spamming this every rotation or so, we don't need to. So now we can spam this. Now this comes from the Psijic Order skill line. Yes, you will have to go to Psijic Order and you will have to unlock this skill. You will want some of the passives as well, but most importantly, you'll need this. It starts off as Accelerate and it's morphed to Race Against Time. When you activate this, you will gain Major Expedition for 3 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30%. But above all, for 12 seconds, you will get Minor Force, increasing the critical damage that you do by 10%. This does also reduce your sprint cost, but we don't need to worry about that right now. That's something that you can mess with if you're going through Overland or even dungeons. You just want to run a bit quicker. You can activate it first and then sprint. But that's not the important part. The important part is the Minor Force. This is exactly the same bonus you get from Beast Trap. And this is exactly the same bonus you get from Griffin's set as well, which we were using previously. You can still use that, but we're not using it right now. I'll go over sets later. So this needs to be in your rotation all the time. Very simple. Activate it, you get a bonus. Doesn't get any more glorious than that. There you go, it's on. So, very, very simple skill, but you will need to unlock it. Subterranean Assault, this is in the Animal Companion skill line. This is very, very important indeed. This actually launches 3 Shulks under the ground, and then they pop after 3 seconds and do direct damage to area of effect target. So basically anyone in front of you. This also applies Major Fracture, reducing their physical resistance by 5280 for 5 seconds. Yes, this is the same debuff as what you would get from Pierce Armor from a tank, so they don't stack, but this is area of effect. So basically, let me show you this. We're going to have to get rid of the bear, because otherwise he's going to go and attack the skeleton. So no spoiler there with the bear. But basically, you fire it. Let's see the whole animation. 3, 2, 1, pop. There you go, underneath the target. So anyone caught in this area will all get major fracture, and they'll all be hit for that direct damage at the same time. Little tip for this, by the way, when you activate it, if you spin around, it will aim whichever way you're facing. So your character is facing forwards, but your camera isn't. So it will face forwards. But if you turn your camera or your character, it will aim a different direction when it releases, even though you've already cast it. So be aware that whichever way you are facing, not your camera, is which way it will come out. So you can actually tactically use that. For example, I don't want to hit him. I want to hit this target instead. There you go. Now, next ability is Bird of Prey. Now, this is very, very important indeed. Now, activating this will actually give you a speed buff for 30%, same as Race Against Time, except it's 1 second longer. It will also give you Major Endurance. It says 20% stam recovery here, which it is, from Major Endurance, but we will have that from our potions anyway, so it's not necessarily important. So you don't really need to activate this skill. If you want to run speed bonus, activate Race of Time. 1, it's cheaper, and 2, of course, this gives you a reduction to sprint cost. So if you're going to be running fast, you're probably going to be sprinting, you want to use this instead. So you don't actually need to activate this. We've already got the buff to recovery. We've already got the speed buff if we need to. Don't activate it. However, before this patch, you used to have to activate this to get the minor berserk bonus that it has. You get an 8% increase to all damage that you do while it is active. Now it's different. Now you get the 8% bonus all the time. Just slot it. That's it. That's all you have to do. So before, this is where the Race Against Time switch makes sense. Before, we would have to cast this every single rotation to get that bonus. And it would cost Magicka. That's the only Magicka we could actually utilize. We couldn't use any other skills. So, we were stuck. Now we don't have to cast this. So now we can cast another buff instead. This is a slotted bonus. This is where our excess Magicka that we now have can go. So that is why we have this skill on here above all now. Not only for the bonus, but the fact that we can actually use it now, whereas before we couldn't. If you use this every rotation in the past, you would run out of Magicka with any other abilities active. You just couldn't sustain it, but now you can. So this must stay on your bar at all times. That's all it's for. Stay on your bar, 8% increased damage. We are using Lethal Arrow as our main spammable, of course. This is in the bow skill line. This is the first ability you unlock, so you've got no excuse. You get this straight away for having a bow. All you have to do is pick up a bow, get 1 kill, and you'll unlock the skill line, and this will be yours. Now, this is a snipe ability. It actually starts off being called Snipe. Morph it deliberately to Lethal Arrow. This version of it automatically applies a poison status effect. Poison status effect is a 6-second damage over time ability, which does damage every 2 seconds. It's really, really powerful. It's around 12k in terms of damage, regardless of CPs and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really, really strong status effect to actually apply if you're lucky. But this ability applies it by default. It's guaranteed. So not only do you get the initial hit, which can be really, really high, but this also applies that bonus as well. And of course, it inflicts major defile, reducing their healing received and all that good stuff. So if you are against something that has lots of heals, then this will help. But above all, this is really high damage and a free status effect as well. Obviously, it's got massive range. I will go over the passives in a bit. So make sure they're obviously in range of your other abilities, but still, the further back you are, the stronger this is going to get. But we'll go over those important passives in a bit. It does have a channel time, however. It does take 1.1 seconds to wind it up. As you can see, it does this. So what you want to do is every time you cast it, you want to light attack just before. Light attack first, light attack, hit it. It's quite simple, but make sure you don't miss that light attack. It's very important. Don't worry about those effects and shininess. Now we have the bear, the ultimate. Now this is in the animal companion skill line as well. You can see where this is going. It's lots of animals. And this is your main ultimate. You unlock it at level 12 of this skill line. There's 2 morphs for it. One is for magic damage and one is for physical. Feral Guardian is how it starts, but Wild Guardian is the physical version of it. Now this does a stupid amount of damage. Every hit he does is physical damage. Occasionally he'll do a on his back legs slap to the enemy, which also swipes them and stuns them and all that good stuff. It's really, really nasty. And it's AoE as well, so he hits really hard. He's active all the time. But he costs 75 ultimate, and if you cast that ultimate, it will hit really, really, really hard. He has a massive hit. It deals 100% more damage to enemies below 25%, I might add. His overall damage output was reduced in Murkmire by about 30% in comparison to the past, but it still hits very, very hard. It's really, really nice. So you've got to keep this bear up all the time. Just activate the ultimate as soon as it's ready. So here he is. There's Yogi himself. He's absolutely mega. Now note, when I attack something, he will go and hit it. But there's something very important to note. If you want him to hit somebody else, you have to wind up half a heavy attack. You don't have to do a full one. If I light attack him, he won't chase after it. If I light attack him, he won't chase after it. But if I wind up like half a heavy and don't finish it on him or him, he'll switch targets. You don't have to do a full one, just a slight heavy. Just wind it up for like a split second and he'll switch targets. I know it says in the notes before that you have to wind up a full heavy. You technically don't. Just half of one will be enough to make him swap targets. But without that, he won't do it. You can see I'm winding it up for not more than half a second. But remember, if you light attack it, he won't pay any attention whatsoever. You have to do a full, a wind up. Now, while he's calming himself down, because he's a bit aggressive and he will sit there punching the skeleton for a while, we'll go over the next skills. Now, the back bar, very, very important here. Vigor, resolving vigor, in fact. What you need to do here is go to your assault skill line. You need to go into PvP for this. I know a lot of people don't like going into PvP. Don't worry about it. You don't have to go to Cyrodiil and ride Zergs if you don't want to, because I know that can be frustrating. What I would recommend is to go into Battlegrounds. Get yourself into a random battleground, any game, it doesn't matter. Just get in there and get out. If you win, you get loads of points. If you lose, you still get 7k alliance points anyway, just for the privilege of being in there. So it's win-win for you. Even if someone's teabagging you over your head, saying, haha, you suck, doesn't matter. Fuck them. You will still get alliance points for the privilege, so let them get on with it. Now, Resolving Vigor doesn't have to be your first type of heal. I mean, you can use this in the Warden skill lines actually themselves. You can use another heal for the time being. In Green Balance, you can use Fungal Growth, and then you can morph that to the Stamina version of it and use that as kind of your burst heal if you want. But I would recommend getting Resolving Vigor over that as soon as possible, because it is somewhat safer having it as a tick heal rather than just one burst and costing loads of stamina. Now, this is a 5-second heal over time for you and other people. Starts off as Vigor, morph it to Resolving Vigor. Anyone caught inside of here, 5 other people, including yourself or your pet, will actually heal. This is the biggest problem I see with Vigor. This. You see this in all my videos. Don't do that. Look at my stamina. I'm screwed. Don't do it. All you need to do is let it run out, then reapply it. It has a duration for a reason. Spamming it won't make it any stronger. Now, the next ability is, of course, Poison Injection. This is from the bow skill line, of course. And this is the last ability you unlock in this skill line. So I would recommend putting some bow abilities on both bars just to make sure that you level up a little bit faster in this skill line to get this as soon as possible. This is required. Poison Injection is aggressive as hell. It's a single target damage over time poison ability that lasts 10 seconds. It must be on the target at all times, but the lower the health, the more damage it does. It does up to 260% more damage to enemies that are dropping below 50%. So the lower they are, the harder it hits. It's very, very strong indeed. Starts off as a Poison Arrow, by the way. It's Poison Injection now, but it starts off as Poison Arrow. You don't want the Interrupt version, you want Poison Injection. Next one is Razor Caltrops. This is a bit of a ball ache because you will have to go into Battlegrounds again and make sure that you can get Assault 6 to unlock it. But you're going to want this as soon as you can. If you can't get this right away or you don't have it right now, you can, of course, double bar your Shulks and put that in the rotation instead, and it will be fine. But I will go over rotations towards the end of the video, and I will explain the two differences in rotations if you don't have Caltrops. But I would highly recommend getting this. This will actually put a really, really large AoE on the ground. Wrong one. There. And everyone standing inside of this will take damage every 1 second. It is aggressive as hell. It's really, really powerful. So I would highly recommend using that. It is expensive, so the rotation is set up to accommodate that, but don't spam it. Now, your next ability, of course, is Bird of Prey again. The reason this is on both bars is because it grants us Minor Berserk, which is 8% increase to damage for being slotted. So you can have it on the front bar, you have it on the back bar, you don't have to touch it. Yes, it looks cool, and you have wings coming out, but you don't have to cast it. Just keep it on both bars. Just note, by the way, if you are solo, or if you're in a situation where you feel you're a little bit too squishy, you do have two options here. First of all, you can go into your Winter's Embrace and get yourself Frost Cloak and morph it to Ice Fortress. This will give you an increased physical and spell resistance of 5280 for 24 seconds. This boosts your resistance, and it gives you minor protection as well, making you even stronger versus incoming damage. You can slot this here if you prefer, just in case you need it. Failing that, what you can do is you can go into here, get Green Lotus, put that on your bar instead, and for being there, all you have to do is activate it every 20 seconds, and this will give you health back for your light attacks or your fully charged heavy attacks. So obviously the lighter ones will give you less back, but the heavy attacks will give you much, much more. It'll also heal other people around you while granting you major savagery. Yes, that will come with our potions anyway. No, this isn't something I would use actively all the time, but in the case of it where you think you're going to need it instead of this, you can obviously use this instead. It will alter your rotation. You might get slightly less damage overall, but it's there to help you survive if you need to. So the choice is yours. Frostcloak, Green Lotus, or Bird of Prey. Bird of Prey I recommend all the time. Like I said, if you get yourself in shit, then you can swap for the other two. Just don't stay on your back bar too long, because just remember, if you do swap this out, you are losing that 8% extra bonus on your back bar. So that's a choice you can make. Just a way to kind of survive if you are having trouble. Now, the last ability on this bar, other than the ultimate, of course, is Endless Hail. This is in the bow skill line. This is the second ability you unlock, and this is essential, especially if you have access to the Maelstrom weapon. This puts a damage over time on the ground, just like Caltrops, but it's a bit smaller. Fires loads of arrows into this small area of effect. Anything caught inside of that will take damage not every 2 seconds, not every 1 second like Caltrops, every half a second. And if you have the Maelstrom bow, this is very, very strong. It's really powerful anyway, but that will boost the shit out of it. So this must stay on the targets at all time. Keep this under their feet. It's really, really nice. Last ability, of course, is the Wild Guardian. If you want to keep your bear active, you have to have it on both bars, so we double bar the bear. Piece of cake. Now we're going to get into the passives, and this will start making a little bit more sense, hopefully, for those of you that are unsure of why everything is where it is. Now, the Animal Companion skill line, you're going to need these. This, when one of your Animal Companions is killed or unsummoned, you restore 1260 health, which can crit, by the way. Just a point here, your Bullnetch, he can't die. He just runs out of time. He disappears. He unsummons. This also counts. So if you reactivate it, you see my health bar just went up because I've got another passive, which we're going over. He actually heals you. Every time you cast this, you can take a heal. It's small, but it does heal you. So that counts. Now, so you want to make sure you get that one. Also, if your bear dies, you get a heal as well. Which he shouldn't die in most content because they change it so that he's immortal inside dungeons and trials. But if you're in Maelstrom, for example, then yeah, he will die. I wouldn't recommend taking this into Maelstrom if you're not extremely experienced with the playstyle, although I have done it myself a few times and it is actually pretty strong. You do have to play completely different to what you're used to, however, and that is the whole point of the build. It is a different design. Now, when you cast an Animal Companion's ability while you are in combat, you generate 4 ultimate. This can happen every 8 seconds. So if every 8 seconds you cast your bear ultimate, or you hit the Shulks, or you use the Bullnetch, any of those, once every 8 seconds will give you 4 ultimate back. So that's very, very nice, especially since our ultimate only costs 75 anyway. That's really going to contribute. So make sure you get that passive as well. Increases your magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an Animal Companion ability is slotted. Well, if we had none of these abilities on our bar, but just Bird of Prey, both bars were covered. Also, the bear is on both bars. We're covered anyway. We have that passive increase to recovery on both resources. It's really, really strong. Increases the damage done. This is very important. Damage done by 3% for each Animal Companion ability slotted. Most people confuse this with weapon damage from the Fighters Guild passives. It's not the same. This is overall damage done. When you have stuff like Minor Slayer, which gives you an increased 5% damage done in Dungeons and Trials, this is the same type of bonus except it stacks. This is 3% to your overall damage. So although our weapon damage might look a little bit low, this boosts everything that we do. Weapon damage or max stamina not being a separate factor for this overall. So every single ability from this skill line will give us 3%. And you can see we've got 12 there because 1, 2, 3, 4 abilities from this skill line. Our overall damage is increased by a massive 12%. It's really, really high. Make sure you get this as soon as possible. That was boosted in Murkmire, by the way. It used to be 2%, but it's often misread. This skill line, you won't necessarily need all of these, but I mean, if you are using this, they are going to benefit you. So you've got Accelerated Growth, which when you heal yourself or an ally while under 40% with a green balance ability, you gain Major Mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. Now, we aren't really using any. So if you use Fungal Growth and you use the morph of this for the Stamina Morph, and you healed with it, that would apply. If you use this, then of course that would apply as well. But we're not technically using it that often. However, if you want it, if you've got the spare skill points, go for it just in case you use it. When you heal an ally with a green balance ability, again, we're not using any, you gain 250 magicka or stamina, whichever resource pool is lower. This can happen once every second. So again, if you're using this, for example, that will contribute, but that is in certain situations. You don't have it on all the time. Increase your healing done with green balance abilities by 2%. We're not using any, so you don't have to get that, but if you are using one, again, you can buy this if you want. And finally, this one you do need. When you activate a heal on yourself or an ally, You grant the target minor toughness, increasing their max health by 10% for 20 seconds. The Warden is the only class in the game that has this buff. It's the only one that can apply it. Used to be on Warhorn, now it's not. So the class has a unique bonus to the group. Also, the only set in the game that has this already built in is Warrior's Poet. So if you are a Warden, don't put Warrior's Poet on because you already applied the buff to yourself anyway. Now, all you have to do is heal. So, if you look at my health right now, it says 19,065. If I heal myself, and just for argument's sake, we're going to use the Bay, because that heals you if you unsummon it, 20.6. We have 1.6k increased health just for having a heal. Now that lasts 20 seconds. We use this every 20 seconds easily. We can keep that up 100% of the time. And if you do this, people around you get it as well. Really, really powerful. Make use of your vigor. You're going to need to. What else we got? Passives. We're going into green balance is done. This one here. Now these aren't essential because we're not really using anything from this skill line. Although if you do slot Ice Fortress, you are going to want a couple of them. So, first of all, increase your chance of applying chilled to enemies with Winter's Embrace abilities by 10%. We're not using any, don't get it. Increases your physical and spell resistance by 500 for each Winter's Embrace ability slotted. Now, if we do have this resist buff slotted, we will gain a further 500 resistance across the board just for having it on the bar. So that is a useful one. And this one here reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15%. We are ranged, we are mobile, we need to be fast. This will negate the effectiveness of some snares, or most snares in fact. Not necessarily ones from War Priests and such in Trials because they're a pain in the ass. I think that one isn't ignored, but everything else pretty much is. This is a very important passive, so do get this one. And this one here increases your magic and frost damage. We don't do either of the two, so don't even bother getting it. Bow, of course, we're using 2 bows. So we've got actually a cheap skill set because we don't have to apply skill points for 2 different weapon types. We can just put it all in here and we're done. So, passives here are really important. Gives you a damage bonus of up to 12% against enemies at longer range. Did you see that? Gives you a damage bonus. 12% longer range. So we have a 12% increase to all of our damage for having these abilities slotted. And our bow gets even more powerful for being long ranged. I don't know why people don't pay attention to this, but I see so many bow builds out there, especially target skeleton smashers, getting about 5 feet away from the target skeleton, using melee abilities to try and show off a rotation that isn't actually viable in any way, shape or form in content. If you want to get that close, put dual wield on or put a two-hander on. This is deliberately ranged, and for doing so, we do get a bonus to our damage. Pay attention to your passives. Increases our crit rating. Obviously, we want to make sure we take advantage of that. Reduces the stamina cost of bow abilities. Of course, we want to get the cost down because we are going to be spamming snipes and stuff like that. It's going to get expensive. Dealing damage with a light or heavy attack. This is crucial. Increases your damage of bow abilities by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So a 25% increase. Our bow abilities get a 25% increase to damage, plus 12% for being at range, plus 12% to all of our damage for having these abilities slotted. Can you see where this is going? The longer range we are, the better. However, note, our Shulks have a 20-meter range. Don't go outside 20 meters. This will take some practice. It's going to be one of those spatial awareness things where you get used to how far your Shulks can actually reach. But 20 meters is your limit if you're using this ability. If you're not, you can go a bit further. You can go about 25. But stay around 20 meters. Don't go too far back anyway, because you'll be out of range of heals and stuff like that in case of an emergency. You can still sit around the same sort of distance as most Magicka range DPSs go. In fact, a bit closer, and still reach heals and all that good stuff. Now, this one I will explain. We need to dump the bear a second, because otherwise he's just going to go mental and start attacking stuff when I try and explain. So we'll get rid of him. Now, look very carefully at my buffs on the bottom of the screen. You will see there's a circle with an eye in it, kind of like the Eye of Ra. Every time I click a light attack, it goes up in stacks, and the timer starts again. The timer is underneath it, the stacks are inside of it. I've got 5 stacks now. Any damage I do with my bow is 25% increase as long as that stays. And if I put a light attack between every single ability, I have this bonus 100% of the time. Most builds out there will use dual wield and a bow and probably get 2 to 3 stacks of this bonus for 5 seconds. Then when they get to their front bar, eventually it's gone, and then they restart it on the back again. Because we're bow, doesn't matter what bar we're on, we constantly get that 25% increase to our bow damage. So every light attack, every heavy attack, every ability that our bow uses is increased. And we're at range. You've got to be around 20 meters range to make sure it further gets improved. It's a very, very strong passive. In fact, all the bow passives are extremely essential, and most don't really know how to make them effective. But this is taking advantage of them all. Now, of course, we also have this one as well, which grants us Major Expedition if we dodge roll for 4 seconds. So what this does is we get a 30% increase to run speed if we dodge roll, so we can get out of trouble. Is that relevant? Yes. Can we utilize it? Also yes. So if you're already dodge rolling damage, you're just faster anyway, so that's a nice bonus to have. Should we spam it? Definitely not. This build has Major Expedition built in the form of a skill. We can actually activate it, cost us no stamina. We don't have to dodge roll first, waste stamina, and then sprint. Use Race Against Time, sprint. Your sprint cost is down because that's what the ability does. So in the event of you dodging something, sure, it's a bonus. But don't deliberately dodge just to get that bonus, because we can apply it ourselves anyway. And it's quite cheap. We'll get the bear back out because he doesn't need to be gone anymore. Light armor. We are using 1 piece of light armor. So we do want to get these basic passives here because it will give us an extra bonus to reduction of cost, extra recovery, and all that kind of stuff. It's not massive, but it does contribute, especially since we're using a magic ability every rotation. So we will want to get these. Minor bonus to resistances, and of course reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 4% for each light piece worn, and sprint cost reduction as well. So we already have a 15% reduction to snares being a warden. We have a further 4% just for having 1 piece of light armor, so we're around 19% now. This is really, really nice. Medium armor, you want every single one of these. We are using 5 pieces of medium. It is essential that we're in medium armor, and you must get all these passives. This will give you increased crit chance. This will give you stamina recovery, which is obviously really nice, and reduce the cost of your abilities per piece worn, by the way. So the more pieces the better, but we're deliberately using 5, not 7. This will reduce your sneak cost, which is meh. That's more kind of going around steely stuff, or just PvP, whatever. And sneak detection, that's not too important, but if you want to take advantage of it for other content, you can. This increases your weapon damage by 15%, which we do need, so make sure you get this as soon as possible, and you must be using 5 pieces of medium armor to get this. This also is very important. Increase the movement speed bonus when you do sprint by 3% per piece worn, so 15%, and reduces the cost of your dodge roll. We are not very strong in terms of resist unless you put a resist buff on. We're not particularly tanky, but we do have the extra health to recover from that, and we can heal from our little abilities here and there and stay away from danger. But just in case you do get in trouble, of course, your dodge roll is your key way to avoid damage, and it is cheaper with 5 medium pieces of armor. Heavy armor. We are using 1 piece on purpose. We get a minor resistance bonus. We also actually get a little bit of health recovery, although that's not important because we're a vampire. But you will, again, restore 108 magicka and stamina whenever you do take damage of any type once every 4 seconds. So if you do take any damage at all once every 4 seconds, you will get that tiny resource back. And that will, of course, stack with our basic recovery and our bull netch as well. Remember, our base recovery is around 1.1k, maybe a bit higher. But with the bull netch, we get 5.3k as well over 27 seconds, and those two stack together. Add this to it as well, you can see where this is going. We're getting loads and loads of resources back pretty much all the time. That's not including a heavy attack, because if you run low, of course, you can still heavy attack with a bow. Increases your max health by 2% for each piece worn. This is essential. Get that health bonus. The more health we actually have without squishing down, the stronger our minor toughness passive is when we actually heal. We are, of course, a stage 4 vampire. Stay out of fire. Stop crying about fire killing you. You shouldn't be standing it anyway. And if you aren't a vampire, fire will still kill you, because most fire in this game is pretty much a one-shot to a DPS. That's a fact, and something that you need to get used to. Now, this gives you increased magicka and stamina recovery, as well as what we already have from our passives. And now, obviously, we've got agility to our advantage. We can move fast. We're out of danger for the most part. We're quite far back. We can still heal ourselves. We get bonuses to heals if we do. We get bonuses to our max health if we heal. We can put a resistance buff on if we want. We've got all these shiny things to our advantage, or you can heal from your lights and heavies. But if you have this passive and you do go below 50% health, the lower health you go, the less damage you take, up to a maximum of 33% reduction to all damage. All damage. It's really, really powerful. You will obviously want this as well. Reduces the severity of health recovery as a vampire through stages 2 and 4. You have less recovery as a vampire. That's not hugely important to us anyway, because it's so low it's not even being counted. But if you want to lessen the severity of it, of course, get this. Now, this one here, every single time you kill an undead, daedra, or werewolf, as long as you get the killing blow, you will gain 9 ultimate. That is essential for us, well, it's essential for everyone, but especially us, because 9 ultimate is a massive, massive boost based on our ultimate only costing 75 points. It's so cheap, we can borderline spam it in situations of undead, daedra, or werewolf as long as you are getting the kill. So this is essential. This one here increases your weapon damage for each fighter's guild ability slotted. We are not actually slotting any, so you don't really need this. Psijic Order, of course, we are using 1 Psijic Order ability. I would get these passives regardless. This reduces the cost of Psijic Order abilities by 15%. You will need that. Spell Orb is kind of a hit and miss ability. If you morph this all the way up, or sorry, spec this all the way up to 2 points, you will do physical damage every time you cast a Psijic Order ability 5 times. If it is within 10 seconds of itself. 9 times out of 10, this won't actually stack with this particular rotation. So you will find yourself running out of this, maybe 2 or 3 stacks, and then you find out the 4th one falls off or the 5th one falls off. But if you're using the rotation without Caltrops, the old kind of setup without Caltrops, you might be able to take advantage of this. But buy it anyway, just in case. It's kind of a freebie anyway. This one here, however, Concentrated Barrier, you will need this. You will need Psijic Order 8, I believe, to fully unlock it to its max potential. But I'll show you what it does. For having a Psijic Order ability on your bar, if you block, you get a damage shield. There's your protection. At the moment, it's 2.5k. It actually goes up to 5k. 5k flat damage shield for blocking. Now, it does have a cooldown, however. So if you do take damage and it does fall off, it will regenerate after 10 seconds. All you have to do is block to activate it. It's really, really powerful. And damage shields, again, were changed. Damage shields before were a flat bonus. They used to give you just the damage shield, and there was no mitigation considered whatsoever. It would just fall off. So if you took 10k damage, you would take 5k in the shield, and God knows how much in the health, depending on your resistance. Now your resistance is considered before the damage shield. So if you're mitigating 20% of the damage all the time, and you got hit with a 5k hit, instead of getting hit with 5k and your damage shield falling off, you'd get hit with 4k of it, because your resistances count first, and you still have some of your damage shield left. So this free damage shield for us, especially on a stamina, is really, really handy. So being out in the open, having lower resistances and all that good stuff. I mean, you are agile, you've got your heals, you've got all that good stuff. But if you are in trouble, you do need to block a mechanic. If you do, you're going to mitigate some damage in your shield first. So it's really, really nice, especially as a stamina. Now, of course, we need Undaunted. This is really essential. We are ranged, so we do still get synergies. We will get stuff, obviously, from the healers and such. We can get stuff from AoE heals that are down, regardless of what class it is, because they've all got their own versions of stuff. But every synergy you take, you'll gain back 4% of your max resources across the board. So Magicka, Health, and Stamina. Every single synergy you take will give you a bonus. Now, this is important. You must take synergies. Not just for your sustain, but every single synergy is a benefit to you in some way or another. It will do damage, it will heal you, it will shield you, it will do something. You must take them. Now, there are several synergies that are capable of being taken at range. Now, Trap and Webs, which I don't see you use that much, you can take the synergy from this at range. It's deliberately done so you take it at range. This one as well, in a fight, if the tank's using a ranged taunt, again, this one can be taken at range, and they're on different cooldowns, so that's fine. Blood Altar, if you run low on health, if people are using that, you can take this synergy. Bone Shield, if someone's standing beside you with it, fair enough, you can take that. A lot of healers have been using it recently, so it's really, really nice. And of course, Necrotic Orb. These fly around the room all the time. You can pick those up as well. They do have to be close to you, but you can still pick them up. So here's just a few synergies that you can take advantage of before any other class-based abilities are even put into the mix. So you've all got advantages and disadvantages for being ranged or melee, but they did introduce some of the Undaunted skills a while back. I think Somerset, maybe just before. No, it's actually before. I think it was Dragon Bones, where you can take deliberately some at range. Like, you are the only one who can take it. If a tank taunts with Inner Fire, I can take it from here. But if someone's up here, they can't, because it's capped. You have to be 15 meters out to be able to take advantage of it. So take those synergies, especially at ranged, because you have certain ones that are applied to just you. Now, this increases your max health, your stamina, and your magicka by 2% for each type of armor worn. We have a 6% bonus to every resource that we have. Our stamina, our magicka, and our health is all up by 6% because we have 1 light piece, 1 heavy piece, and 5 medium pieces. That's 3 different types. This is essential. This here, Imperial first. Our race, yes, we are Imperial. This will give us a max health bonus of 12%, which is why our health is so high. So that helps us survive out in the open. We have a max stamina bonus of 10%, which is exactly the same as a Red Guard, so we can pump out just as much damage. But remember, we're ranged, so we don't get bonuses from our melee attacks. Now, although we're not doing melee damage, this is something that is a bit broken in the game at the moment. I don't pick Imperial for this passive on this particular build. I pick it for the max health and the stamina. But I will note that there is a bug in the game that is, at the moment, to your advantage. Now, I'm going to go over the sets in a moment. You're going to know what this set is in a sec. So I'm going to go slightly ahead of myself and just show you that this Whirlwind effect here. That Whirlwind effect is one of the sets we're using. That is a damage over time single target ability. Damage over time. It has been broken ever since it has been released, and it is registering as melee damage. Now, just to point that out, If you look at my health, I have 19k. Remember, as a warden, if you heal, you get minor toughness. Watch. 10% chance to do so. There it goes. It just healed me. Red diamond procced from that set. Disclaimer, that is broken. But it currently works that way in the game, so you are going to benefit from that passive. Again, to underline the point, I don't pick this class race because of this passive on this build. I pick it for these two. But this is currently working. So there you go. There's a point to make there. Now, also, the most important passive in the game, in my opinion, medicinal use. Get your potion passives up to maximum, or your potion skills to maximum, rather. Get it to level 50, dump all the points. You can see I can still put my points in here to make potions if I want to, but I don't want to on this character. So I've took them all out again and just put 3 into here. This will make your potions, no matter what they are, last 30% longer. If you use them crafted potions, which we are, which I did say I was going to go over. Over here. Supplies. Not supplies, slottables, sorry, my bad. Major Brutality, which we have all the time anyway, if you keep your Betty Netch up, or your Bull Netch rather. However, this is part of the pot, so we get it anyway, so if it does fall off, we've still got it. Major Savagery, you'll only have that if you have Green Lotus slotted, which we don't. So that's nice to have on both bars all the time. And this as well grants major endurance increase in our stam recovery by 20% the entire time. Now, the cooldown is 45 seconds, but the potion lasts 47.6. So as you can see, we can keep this up 100% of the time. Pro tip, by the way, for potions, don't run out of juice and then use your potion, and then run out of juice, then use your potion again. Keep it up all the time. Use this as an active buff, and always apply it if your potion is ready. Now, we're going to go into the gear. Now, previously, we used Griffin, which gives you minor force for doing direct damage. That still applies. You can still use that if you want, but if you do use that, you are not going to need Race Against Time, because Race Against Time fires the same bonus. So the old setup does still work, but you aren't going to need this skill setup. You just need to make sure you double bar this. However, we have changed the sets now based on this alone. We don't have to cast Bird of Prey anymore. We have minor force here, so we don't need it on our set. So we utilize another set instead, which can benefit us in the way of direct damage. Mechanical Acuity was somewhat of a hyped setup for a very long time, or a hyped set for a very long time, but it was somewhat broken because it was proccing off of all damage. All damage. It no longer procs off of all damage, so it's not that easy to use for everybody. Now, this gives us a weapon damage bonus, a spell damage bonus. Spell damage is irrelevant. Stamina bonus, max magic, fair enough, we need the pull. But when you deal direct damage, you have 15% chance to proc the set, giving you 5 seconds of 100% guaranteed crit. You will critically hit everything you are doing if you make it happen. It has an 18-second cooldown. So we're talking a 13-second gap between on and off. Now, this was complained about and people dumped it because instead of doing all damage, it only worked with direct. So you had to have a very specific type of build to make it work. But everything that we're doing apart from our dot set going on the ground, you can see this here, that's not important because we're on the back bar, is direct damage. So our light attacks, our snipes, our bear, everything is direct damage. And as you can see, we can proc it quite successfully. That's when it's active, when I'm gone all blue and shiny. So we can effectively take advantage of this set. It's not just slapped on for no reason whatsoever. This actually does benefit us because we are the ones doing a shit ton of direct damage. Of course, you can still get light attacks and stuff on a dual wield or not so spammy direct damage magic build, but it's not as effective. It's more effective on stuff that deals a lot of direct, and we do. So this is really, really strong. So you want one bow, which is deliberately sharpened with a weapon and spell damage glyph on the front bar. Deliberately just on the front bar, not on the back. And then you want the jewelry of them as well, with 2 robust and 1 bloodthirsty, with weapon damage on all 3. So 3-piece jewelry and 1 bow on the front bar. It's a 6-trait set. It's very easy to make for most people, and if not, I'm sure you can find it on the market anyway, or ask someone to make it for you. So even for beginners, this is already done for you. This is a very easy one to get hold of. Now, you do want to get the Maelstrom bow on the back bar if you can get it. If you can't, don't panic, but if you can, you want to make sure that it's infused and it's got a absorb stamina enchant on it. When you have this, every time it fires, you will get 461 stamina back, which does contribute to the rest of our recovery and sustain as well. They do all stack. It's really, really powerful. The fact that it's infused means that if we use Endless Hail, which is a ground-based AoE damage over time, every time that ticks damage, it will register whether this can fire or not. And if it can, it will. And this can fire every 2 to 3 seconds or so. It's really, really, really fast, even when you swap bars. Now, all you have to do is put this under the target and watch above his head. 2 abilities hit. 2 again. 3, in fact, because Stormfist went. 2 again. 2 again. Every time you see that extra number above it, that is the stamina glyph firing off. And every time that fires, you're getting 461 back. It's really, really powerful. So you definitely want to go infused on the back bar so you can take advantage of that. But in order to take advantage of it, you must have Endless Hail up the whole time. So don't let that dot fall off if you can help it. Now, if you don't have a Maelstrom bow, do not panic. You can put a crafted bow on the back of your choice, or maybe an agility one to give you extra stamina. Because bows count as 2 pieces, you will get 1,400 stamina from having an agility bow on your back bar every time you swap to the back bar, which will, of course, increase your damage overall while you're there. It won't be as strong as a Maelstrom bow, but it will give you the extra bonuses to your resources. It will give you the damage that you're missing on the back bar, and it will deliberately not proc this on the back bar. The reason we have this on the front is because it does have a cooldown, it does have an uptime. You want that 5-second bonus to your crit damage on the front bar if you can help it. So we deliberately have this on the front bar and not the back. You can do it on both bars if you want. It will still do damage, but it might proc in a really inconvenient situation where you're on your back bar, you're not doing much, you're putting your dots down, you switch to the front, and it's gone again. You want to make sure that your snipes and your bear hits do the most damage they possibly can. So that's the reason we have it on 1 bar. Now, the other set we're using is the monster set, of course, which is Stormfist. You saw it proc then just a moment ago. You want 1 piece heavy and 1 piece light. In any order, shoulder or head, either one needs to be light or heavy. So 1 heavy and 1 light of each. Infused on the head, divines on the shoulders. Now, this gives you a stamina recovery bonus on top of all the stamina recovery we've got. This also contributes. And when you deal damage of any type, so any dots, any single target damage, any direct stuff, anything at all, you can make a big storm fist appear from underneath the ground and squash the enemy in the face. This happens and does damage over 3 seconds, once a second, and it has a cooldown of 8 seconds. Now, this also does area of effect damage as well. Bit of a blast. It does physical and shock damage. The dot is shock. The physical is the initial hit. Finally, we are using Reliquant. This comes from Cloud Rest. Now, I know people are looking at me going, oh my god, that's a trial set. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But you can go in on normal. You don't have to go in on vet. Normal Cloud Rest trials are run all day long on every single server. Just keep your eyes open in popular locations like Craglawn or Somerset or Gratwood or Deshan or something like that. I guarantee you'll see people shouting about who wants to join normal Cloud Rest. NCR, they know we put it as. Just wave your hand, say I want to join, and get stuck in. You'll get in, you'll complete it, you get your loot, you get out. Go again and again and again. Normal trials are run so regular now for pickups that it shouldn't be difficult to pick this up. However, if you are struggling with it, of course, you can use another set of your choice if you prefer. There are countless options out there. They will not give you the same benefit or bonuses, but you can still use them. So if you want to use Hundins or Briarheart or Defiler or even Unfathomable Darkness, as long as it will reach, because you've got to watch your range. Anything like that you can use if you prefer, but this will give you the most results. It's very, very strong indeed. Now, what this does, you want it on all the body pieces. You want this on both bars 100% of the time. You get a crit bonus. You gain minus Slayer, increasing all of your damage by 5%. You get another crit bonus, and your light and heavy attacks will apply a stack of damage. And every time you fire a light attack within 1 second of each other, you'll stack another one. And each stack that you apply will reset the timer, and it will last for 5 seconds. So you hit with a light attack, 5 seconds starts counting down. Hit with another light attack, 5 more seconds start counting down, and so on and so forth. Additionally adding another stack on top up to 20. Now how that works, I'm going to show you just here. Look carefully above his head, you see the blue swirl in the buff timers, or the debuffs. It's got a 1 in it, now it's got a 2. Now it's got a 3, and you can see where I'm going. It just continuously goes up and up and up, and each one will add damage to that spinning whirlwind type thing, so it gets more and more aggressive. So let's get it up to a few stacks. We've got it at 8 at the moment, and that's doing 1.9k a tick. 1.9, 1.9, and we'll go up to 20. Every 1 second you can do this, so over 20 seconds you can get it to peak. I'm firing too quickly anyway. Let's go up to 20. We don't need to go up to 20. You can see the difference, so we'll stop here. It's now currently doing 2.6 instead of 1.9 every second. It's really, really powerful. Stuff it. We'll go to 20. 14, 15, 16. As long as you light attack every 1 second, you will increase it up to a maximum of 20. When it gets to 20, it will stay there and just keep resetting the timer. Now look at the damage. 4.7 every tick. That's not including any additional buffs or anything like that, which will increase your overall damage. Very, very powerful. Keep that on the target 100% of the time. And do you know what? We're using a bow build. So if you're stamina DPS and you're using dual wield and you're up close and you're getting your stacks in and all of a sudden mechanic makes you run backwards, you can't hit it now. It's going to run out. Your damage is going to reset. You're not doing 4.7k a second anymore. You're doing nothing. You got to get in and restart it. What a waste of time. But because of where we are, all we're going to do is move a little bit. We can still always hit. We can keep that up 100% of the time. And look at my buffs at the bottom of the screen. See the Hawkeye passive, the circle with the Eye of Ra in there? It's not actually the Eye of Ra, but you know what I mean. See that? That's procced by light attacks as well. As long as we keep our light attacks between our abilities, at least once a second, we will have 100% uptime on Reliquin and the Hawkeye passive. It's very, very strong. But you must apply your light attacks. As soon as you stop doing them for more than 5 seconds, you lose your Reliquin procs, which you took loads of time to stack up, and you lose your Hawkeye passive, so your bow's 25% bonus to damage is removed. Keep these up. It's essential. And in mechanics, always have that 5-second mental timer, where even if you're getting out of stuff, you just make sure you reapply another light attack. Even if your rotation has died, keep one light attack up. It's very, very important. Bows are extremely effective at keeping up this set. So let's go over this again in less detail. Sharpened bow of a mechanical acuity on the front bar with a weapon and spell damage glyph. Maelstrom or agility on the back with infused absorb stamina glyph. Jewelry of mechanical acuity, weapon damage on all of them with robust, bloodthirsty, and then Reliquin all over the body with infused on the chest and the legs and divines on everything else. Now we'll go into champion points. First of all, red trees. 72 points into reduction to direct damage, so you receive much less damage from those. 51 points into thick skin, so you reduce the dot damage that you take. 64 into hardy and 64 into elemental defender, reducing all damage that you take overall in 13%. Now this is also stacking with this as well, by the way. So if you take a poison damage over time ability, you will reduce it by 13%, and you'll also have the 19% reduction because it's damage over time. So they work together, and same with magic type ones as well. Now, of course, we do have the Unchained passive because we've got so many points into here, which means if you do get in a situation where you have to break free, and you probably will do, throw Caltrops straight after. It's your most expensive ability that you've got, and it will be reduced by 80% of its cost for 5 seconds, as long as you fire it within that timer. So break free first, Caltrops second. 19 points into quick recovery, increasing your healing received. So if anyone heals you, including if you heal you, you will increase your heals by 5%. Plus you'll get a combat physician, or field physician, sorry, passive. Combat physicians are a set. Field physician passive, where you will reduce the damage incoming to you by 15% while you're rezzing someone. So in the emergency situation where you have to res someone, 1, you're very fast, so you can get to them quickly. 2, if you do res them, you'll take less damage for doing so. So pop on a vigor real quick, and then give them a res. 44 points into Warlord to reduce the cost to break free. Remember, it's cheaper to break free with this passive, and if you do break free, your next stamina ability is cheaper. 75 points into Tenacity to make sure, obviously, that we get the most that we can back from our charged heavy attacks if we use them. So you'll get stamina back for a fully charged heavy, and it will be increased by 14%. Don't put any more points into here, because if you do, the next 25 points is going to be 1% bonus. It's tiny. It's not even worth it. You put 25 points into there, half of this, even more than half of this, is already gone. You don't even get it. So don't waste your points. 75 is enough. 75 points into Mooncalf as well. Same applies to this bonus. 25 points in here will give you just 1%, so it's nothing really. It's not even worth it. But you will get a 14% increase to a stamina recovery for having this bonus. 76 points into Tumbling. You don't need any more than 72 in here to get the bonus of 23%. The 0.52 is irrelevant. You don't actually get that. So you only get the flat percentages, but we've got 4 points doing nothing, and I'm taking advantage of the 75 points in this tree. So if I loot treasure chests, I get better loot. Nothing in here because it's all magic based anyway. 40 points into Master at Arms, meaning all of our direct damage, our light attacks, our heavy attacks, our snipes, the initial hit of poison injection, the initial hit of Caltrops, all that good stuff will give us an extra bonus. And of course, light and heavy attack bonus as well. This also counts as direct damage. They do stack together, but the light and heavy attack bonuses that we get will also contribute. So it's really nice because we are constantly using light attacks. 72 points into Thaumaturge. We are using a lot of damage over time. We've got a poison effect, or status effect from our snipe, or our lethal arrow. We've got our volley, aka Endless Hail. We've got our Caltrops. We've got our poison injection. We have our Reliquin, which is also damage over time. We have a lot of damage over time effects firing, so that will contribute a lot. 48 points into precise strikes. We are going to be critting guaranteed occasionally, so we do want to make sure we buff that damage. 37 points into piercing. You can put more in here if you want, but 37 was a nice figure for me. 3k penetration here, 3.5 in the Lover's Stone, and then we've got 2.7 in the sharpened weapon as well. We've actually got pretty good penetration bonuses, so this is a really nice figure to have. You can go more in here if you want, but that's entirely up to you. Depends on your group situation and what bonuses you've got already applied. If you find yourself overcapping too much, which you probably won't, then you can obviously alter this. Or undercapping, which again, you can take some out of here if you want and put them into here. 64 points into Mighty. This is very, very important, of course, because you want to boost all of our physical, disease, and poison damage. And, of course, Exploiter, if anything is off balance, and it will be. For that period of time, anything that's off balance will give you a 10% increase to your overall damage. And that actually boosts it a hell of a lot. Now, I'm going to go into the rotation. Then I'm going to show you a skeleton pass real quick. Now, the skeleton test, or pass, or demonstration, or whatever you want to call it itself, is just with major fracture. Nothing more. No crushes, no off balance, no minor vulnerability, no spell power, no war horns, none of that crap, no external bonuses, no minor brutality or anything like that. All we've got is a taunt to simulate a tank is holding on to the boss. I do the same thing in every single test. They all get the same thing. However, just be aware that there are two classes in this game that have a minor buff that everybody else will get in a trial. 9 times out of 10, a healer will be running Combat Prayer, which is an 8% increase to overall damage in the form of Minor Berserk. And no, they do not stack. But Nightblades and Wardens do get this. They are the two classes that do get it. So I do have this bonus. So, effectively, if people want to argue about what is and isn't fair, this is like I've got Combat Prayer attached. But it is a class passive, so obviously it does make sense that you're going to use it. But if you want to compare it directly against another class, just consider that other people don't necessarily have this. So, first of all, let's ignore that. We don't want that over there. Put our food back on. Now, first of all, you want to make sure that your bull netch is up all the time. That's essential. And you want to make sure Race Against Time is up the full time. So when you start the fight, make sure that those two are active. You want to cast your Shulks first of all, because they have a delay. And when you swap bars, boom, they will fire. You don't have to actually swap bars for that to happen, but the fight doesn't start yet until they fire. Once you've swapped, this is where your rotation starts. Ignore those wings. Volley, light attack, poison injection, light attack, caltrops, swap bars. Very, very simple. Every rotation is exactly the same. Volley, light attack, poison injection, light attack, caltrops, swap. No change. Now your front bar is very, very simple. You need to make sure that you light attack and lethal arrow 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when you've done that, light attack Shulks, light attack Race Against Time, swap. In the event of your ultimate being ready, remove one of the snipes for the bear ultimate. In the event of you being low resources, remove one of the snipes for a heavy attack. That's it. And every single second rotation, you will have to cast the Bull Netch again. So just before you swap bars, sneak that in. It doesn't have to be really placed anyway. You can do it at the beginning of the rotation, you can do it at the end. As long as it's running, just sneak it in. So I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of how that should look. Oops, wrong button. It's not a very good demonstration, is it? Keep your buffs up. Shulks down. Back bar. Volley. Light. Poison. Light. Caltrops. Swap. Light snipe. 4 times. It's going to die. Light Shulk. Light Race Against Time. Swap. Start again. We'll do it once more, and then I'll show you a full kill. Come on, up you get. So keep your buffs up. Shulk first. Volley. Light Poison. Light Caltrops. Swap. Light Snipe. Now look, the ultimate's up. Light Bear. Light Snipe. Light Snipe again. Light Shulks. Light Race. Swap. Volley. Light Poison. Light Caltrops. Swap. 4 snipes. Excuse me. 4 snipes. Very simple. Then my Betty's going to run out, so I'll go Shulks. Sneak the Betty in. Race Against Time. Swap. And that's all you have to do. Again, it's not 4 snipes this time because I've got the bear. So it's 3 and a bear. Shulks. Race Against Time. Swap. Keep your potions up all the time as well, and you'll be fine. And that's all you have to do. Keep repeating. Now, in the event of you using the previous setup, or in the event of you not having caltrops, There is a slight rotation alteration, and that is more in line with what we used to do. The old rotation is still capable of being used, but of course your uptimes and downtimes of your abilities will suffer. So with that in mind, get that bloody bear off the... Thank you. With that in mind, you have to swap this out. So instead of caltrops being down for the full duration, you will not need to do that. So what you do instead is shulks first, make sure your buffs are up. Shulks, swap. Endless hail, light poison, light shulks, swap. 2 snipes, or a snipe and a bear. Shulk, race, swap. Volley, poison, light, shulk, swap. Light snipe, light bear, light shulks, light race, swap. Poison, shulks, swap. So basically, your shulks on the back bar is taking place of caltrops in an order of rotation. So volley, light, poison, light, shulk, instead of caltrops. And the front bar, instead of doing 4 snipes, you're only doing 2. So you've got 2 rotations there depending on your setup. If you've got caltrops, go for the longer rotation. If you don't, then go for the shorter one. Anyway, now we're going to go into a quick demonstration of this dude getting wrecked. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to work this particular build or how to perform with it, especially as far as the rotation is concerned, because I know a lot of people have tried Bobo builds in the past and not been too successful, and others have tried Bobo builds and have just been this close with loads of melee abilities, and then firing a poison injection or a snipe every so often, which is silly. So, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website, XynodeGaming.com, and of course, don't forget I live stream on Twitch almost every night from 10 PM UK time. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.